According to archived cybercrime reports from late 2019, a private investigator in Eastern Europe submitted a statement that was never made public. The document was flagged, sealed, and quietly removed from the case file. It described something that did not fit any known category of online crime. It began with a missing person. My brother, Hamza, disappeared on a Thursday evening. There was nothing unusual about that day. He left home around 6:30 p.m., said he was meeting a friend, and promised to be back before midnight. He never returned. At first, it felt like a delay. Then it became a concern. By morning, it turned into something else entirely. We filed a report. The police treated it like any other disappearance. They asked routine questions. Did he have enemies? Was he depressed? Did he owe money? The answers were simple. No, no, no. Hamza was quiet, reserved. He worked freelance online, mostly small coding jobs and digital security testing. He kept to himself, but there was nothing strange about him. Nothing that suggested he would vanish without warning. Days passed, then weeks. His phone was off. His bank account showed no activity. His laptop remained at home, untouched. There were no signs of struggle, no messages, no clues. After a month, the case slowed down. The investigators stopped calling. But something didn't feel right. Hamza had always been careful. He never disappeared, never ignored messages, never left things unfinished. It wasn't like him to vanish cleanly. So I started looking into his work. Most of it was harmless, routine cybersecurity tasks. But there was a section of his files that was encrypted. Not unusual for his field, but the level of encryption was excessive. Military grade, far beyond what his clients would require. It took me 2 weeks to get in. Inside, I found logs. Not files, not documents, just logs. Long strings of timestamps, IP addresses, and access points. Many of them traced back to hidden networks, onion links, dark web directories. At first, I thought he had been freelancing in deeper layers of cybersecurity. But the patterns didn't match legitimate work. These weren't security audits. They were observations. Hamza had been watching something. The logs were organized by date, each entry marked with a short note. Most of the notes were incomplete, like he had been writing quickly. Live feed unstable. Audio interference increasing. Subject not responding. And then one entry stood out. Not human behavior. That was the last note before a 3-day gap. After that, the logs changed. The entries became erratic. Timestamps jumped. Some records repeated themselves, as if the system had glitched or looped. And then there was a single line, written differently from the rest. Don't open the auction link. There was no link attached, just the warning. I stared at it for a long time. I should have stopped there. But when someone you love disappears, logic starts to bend. You look for answers in places you normally wouldn't go. So, I kept digging. It took another week before I found it. Buried inside a secondary folder, hidden behind layers of encryption, there was a single file labeled with a random string of characters. Inside it was a URL, an onion address. No description, no notes, just the link. I remembered the warning. I hesitated. Then I opened it. The page loaded slowly, almost as if it didn't want to appear. At first, it was just a black screen. Then, faint text began to form. Private auction. Verified access only. Below, it was a login prompt. I didn't have credentials. But the page didn't block me. After a few seconds, it redirected automatically. The screen changed. A video feed appeared. It was grainy, low resolution, like an old surveillance camera. The room was dimly lit, with concrete walls and a single chair in the center. The camera didn't move. Nothing happened for nearly a minute. Then the audio started. A low hum, barely audible. Not mechanical. Not electrical. It sounded organic, like breathing, but distorted. I leaned closer to the screen. That's when I noticed the figure. Someone was sitting in the chair. At first, I thought it was just a shadow. But then the image adjusted slightly, and the outline became clearer. It was a person. Head lowered. Arms resting at the sides. Completely still. The feed flickered. For a brief second, the lighting shifted, and I saw the face. It was Hamza. I froze. There was no doubt. The shape of his jaw, the scar near his eyebrow, the way his hair fell forward. It was him. But something was wrong. His eyes were open. They weren't moving. They weren't blinking. They were fixed, staring at something beyond the camera. I tried to convince myself it was a recording. Maybe an old video, something staged. But then the feed glitched again. And Hamza's head moved. Not naturally. It jerked slightly to the side, as if pulled by something unseen. Then it returned to its original position. The audio hum grew louder. A new window appeared beside the video. A timer. And below it a number. Current bid. 3.2 BTC. My chest tightened. I didn't understand. Another number appeared. Next increment. 0.5 BTC. The realization came slowly, like something sinking into place. This wasn't just a video. It was a live auction. I scrolled down. There were comments. Usernames, timestamps, short messages. Condition stable? Can it speak? Show movement. The feed responded. Hamza's fingers twitched. Just slightly. But enough to confirm it. This wasn't pre-recorded. Someone typed. Does it react to commands? There was a pause. Then, from the audio feed, a voice emerged. It wasn't clear. It sounded distant, filtered through layers of distortion. Look up. Hamza's head lifted. Slowly. Deliberately. His eyes met the camera. For a moment, I felt a surge of relief. He was alive. He could hear. He could respond. But then I saw his expression. There was nothing there. No recognition. No fear. No awareness. Just emptiness. The voice spoke again. Say your name. Hamza's lips parted. What came out wasn't his voice. It was deeper. Hollow. As if it came from somewhere inside him. Not from his throat. I am available. The comments exploded. Good response. Cognitive function present. Raise bid. The number jumped. Current bid. 5.7 BTC. Couldn't breathe. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. I tried to close the page, but my hand wouldn't move. The screen flickered again. For a split second, something changed. Hamza's face shifted. Not physically, but subtly, like the features didn't align properly. His eyes seemed too wide. His mouth stretched slightly, just enough to feel wrong. Then it snapped back. The voice returned. Demonstrate compliance. Hamza stood up. His movements were stiff, unnatural, like a puppet learning how to walk. He took one step forward, then another. Each movement slightly delayed, as if following instructions that arrived a fraction too late. The camera zoomed in. I could see his face clearly now. And that's when I noticed it. His lips were moving. Not speaking, just moving. Whispering something silently. I leaned closer, trying to read them. Over and over again, the same words. Help me. The audio didn't match. The voice that came through the speakers said something else entirely. I am ready. The contradiction sent a chill through my body. Something was using him. Something was speaking through him. And whatever it was, it knew people were watching. The timer on the screen reached 0. The comment stopped. For a moment, everything went silent. Then a final message appeared. Auction close. The video feed froze. Hamza stood there, staring directly into the camera. And just before the screen went black, he smiled. The screen went black, but the connection didn't close. For a few seconds, there was nothing, no video, no audio, just a faint static hum through my speakers. I waited for the page to crash or redirect, but it stayed open. Then a new message appeared. Winner will receive access shortly. I stared at the words, trying to make sense of them. My mind kept rejecting the reality of what I had just seen. An auction. A human being. My brother. And someone had just bought him. Before I could react, the page refreshed again. A new interface loaded. Simpler. Cleaner. Almost clinical in design. At the top, a single line of text. Session transfer pending. Below it, a countdown. 60 seconds. I didn't understand why I was still connected. I hadn't placed a bid. I wasn't a participant. I was just watching. Or at least I thought I was. At 42 seconds, The audio returned. Not from the video feed, there was still no image, but directly through my system.
Clear this time.
Closer. Breathing.
Slow.
Measured. Then a voice. You stayed. It wasn't Hamza's voice. It wasn't the distorted one from before either. This voice was calm, controlled, almost conversational. I didn't respond. I couldn't. You weren't supposed to stay, it continued. Observers disconnect after the close. The countdown reached 30 seconds. My hands finally moved. I tried to shut down the browser, but the cursor lagged. The screen flickered, resisting the command. You accessed a restricted node, the voice said. That creates a trace. A trace. The word settled heavily in my mind. You're not part of the auction, it added, but you are now part of the record. The countdown hit 15 seconds. I forced the laptop shut. The screen went dark instantly, cutting off the voice mid-sentence. The sudden silence felt unnatural, like something had been removed too quickly. For a long time, I didn't move. The room felt different. Heavier. I told myself it was over. That whatever I had seen was contained within that device, that network. Closing it should have ended everything. But the feeling didn't leave. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound in the house felt amplified. The ticking of the clock. The faint hum of electricity in the walls. Even my own breathing sounded unfamiliar. Around 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated. I hadn't received a message from Hamza's number since he disappeared. The line had been inactive for weeks. But now it lit up. No caller ID. Just a blank notification. I opened it. There was no text. No image. Just a single audio file. 9 seconds long. I hesitated before pressing play. At first, there was nothing. Then, a whisper.
Faint. Strained.
Barely audible. Don't let them. The audio cut abruptly. I replayed it, increasing the volume. This time, I heard more. A second layer beneath the whisper. A deeper sound, almost overlapping it. Not words. Something else. A pattern. It took a few tries before I realized what it was. Breathing. But not normal breathing. It was synchronized. 2 rhythms, perfectly aligned, but slightly out of phase. As if 2 different things were trying to use the same lungs. I dropped the phone. The memory of the auction flooded back. The way Hamza had moved. The way his voice didn't match his lips. Something had been inside him. And now, it had found a way to reach me. The next morning, I took everything to the police. I showed them the logs, the website, the audio file. I explained what I had seen, every detail, every movement. They listened. They took notes. And then they told me there was nothing they could do.
The site didn't exist, they said.
The link led nowhere. The IP addresses were untraceable. The audio file contained no identifiable data.
To them, it was just a story.
A disturbing one, but still just a story. But one officer stayed behind. He didn't say much at first. Just asked to see the audio file again. He listened to it twice. Then he asked me something I didn't expect. Has your brother ever been involved with religious institutions? I shook my head.
Why?
He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. An address. A priest asked us about something similar last year, he said. Different case. Same pattern. I didn't question it. I went. The church was old, tucked away from the main road. Quiet. Isolated. The priest who greeted me introduced himself simply. No title. No formalities. I showed him the audio file. He listened in silence. When it ended, he closed his eyes for a moment, as if focusing on something beyond the room. Then he spoke. This is not a recording of possession, he said. It's a recording of attachment. I didn't understand the difference. He explained it slowly. Possession is direct, immediate, violent in most cases. But attachment, he paused. Attachment is patient. It observes. It learns. It waits. My chest tightened. What does it want? I asked. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. Access. The word echoed in my mind. Access to what?
To the living, he said.
To those who open the door. I thought about the link. The warning Hamza had left. Don't open the auction link.
I didn't bid, I said.
I didn't agree to anything. The priest shook his head. You watched, he said. You stayed. The room felt colder. That was enough. He asked me to describe everything again from the beginning. I told him about the logs, the notes, the video feed, the voice. When I mentioned the moment Hamza smiled before the screen went black, the priest's expression changed. Describe the smile, he said. I hesitated. It wasn't normal, I said. It felt wrong, like he wasn't the one doing it. The priest nodded slowly. That wasn't your brother. A long silence followed. What happened to him? I asked. The priest didn't answer directly. Instead, he said something else. Sometimes, when something is offered, it doesn't matter who accepts. I felt the weight of those words settle deep inside me. You think he was sold? I asked. The priest looked away. I think, he said carefully, that what you saw was not a transaction between people. The implication was worse than anything I had imagined. That night, I returned home with more questions than answers. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I checked every room, every window, every lock. Nothing was out of place. But something felt different. Subtle, but undeniable. Like the air itself had shifted. I went to my room and closed the door. For a while, I just sat there, trying to process everything. Then I heard it. A sound from the hallway.
Soft. Slow.
Footsteps. I froze. No one else was home. The steps stopped just outside my door. A long pause followed. Then, a knock. 3 times. Evenly spaced. I didn't move. The knock came again. 3 times. This time, slightly louder.
My throat went dry.
I forced myself to speak. Who's there? Silence. Then, from the other side of the door, a voice. Familiar. Broken. Open the door. It was Hamza. But underneath it, layered beneath the sound, something else was breathing.